Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you on the screen and the pairs that will be analyzed today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video as I do have bonus pair in store. But yeah, guys, I'll go through my trade for the week first and then we'll progress into the analysis shortly after. If there is a particular pair you do want to see my analysis to, feel free to skip ahead using timestamps below. But I didn't take any trades this week, but I did have a Euro Aussie trade I've been holding for the past week and a half now. I shorted it Wednesday, the 8th of May, so it's been a while. But it looks like we're starting to pick up some pace. I'm break even on this trade. I did go break even when price came into the low here. I'm still looking for more downside. I'm expecting price to at least come back into this level of daily support, weekly support. I'm trading my stop loss, so I'm going to see how far this one can go. Best case scenario, we break through the level and I start trading from then on, or we could reject the level and come back against me. Either which way, I'll be managing the trade a lot closely now, since it looks like we are likely to break through that low. So I will soon be starting to trail. So that's the only trade I've been holding this week. Didn't really set up how I wanted it to. I was looking for a lot of shorts on some dollar pairs. Didn't really set up Euro USD, NZD USD. We have had some big moves in the market, dollar weakness, and that has caused some rallies for Euro USD and of course across the board for the dollar crosses. So I have pivoted with my bias. If you do take a look at the DXY, you can see a big spill over to the downside. I was looking for levels of support and resistance here to hold, but it didn't. Price broke through after the news. So I'm now expecting more downside for the DXY. I'm looking for the retest of this zone here for a lower high and a continuation to the downside. So now I'm looking for upside on Euro USD, on Pound USD, on Aussie dollar. So this is kind of my outlook for dollar next week. So if you do bring it back down, back around to Euro USD, I'm expecting upside going into next week. This is the zone I'm looking at. This was the zone I was actually looking to short from last week, but now it's going to be the zone I look to long from. Hopefully you can see a bit more downside for Euro USD into 1.08, and then I'm looking for a push to the upside. Again, at least back to the highs. We could potentially go further. There's some highs up there we could potentially target. But I think for next week, keep it relatively simple and just target the highs makes a lot of sense. Risk to reward looks pretty good back to the high, 1 to 2, 1 to 3, maybe even more depending on your entry. But again, we have been printing in these higher highs and higher lows. It's been very, very corrective, but as of late, we're starting to see some strong momentum, especially with this leg here after the news. So simply now looking for a correction and a continuation higher. We just poked through the highs here as well. Not the most convincing break of structure in the world, but we have closed above, which for me does validate a break of structure. So now looking for a pullback, higher low, retest this zone around 1.08, and then push back to highs next week. Okay, so over to dollar yen used JPY. So still bullish on this one. Higher time frames still look very bullish. If you go back to the daily, we can see still very confident uptrend. Weekly as well, monthly as well, still displaying big candles to the upside and overall bullish momentum. So I'm very bullish on the yen pairs in general. We're kind of seeing this across the board. So I'm not really interested in any selling opportunities. Not that you can't find any. It's just that with the trend still being so bullish, I'm always going to be looked to attack higher. There'll be a point where I start to look for sells, but I need lows to be taken out. I need the market to break structure. Then is when I'll start to consider it. But at the moment in time, we're still very bullish. So I'm still keeping a close eye on 152. This is still a pretty big level, which is an area I think I was talking about not last week, the week before. A potential bounce off that level. We did see a really aggressive one, and now would be expecting more upside. But in terms of finding another setup, I would either wait for price to come back to 152 and then look for opportunities in that area, or wait to see if price can break the high aggressively and look for the retest of the high for continuation. Because either which way, I'm still only looking for buys, but at the moment the market is not really at any area of significance for me, so I need it to actually get to an area of significance, and the only area of significance I have is this 152 level down here or the high up there. Either which way, I'm only looking to take buying opportunities here. So if we can come back, retest the level, could get a nice bounce off that support. Likewise with this level here, but it does need to be a confident breakout, really show me that the buyers are back in control, And then yeah, looking for break and retest for some buys to the upside. And potential targets can look at the wick high there or the bodies here, depending how aggressive you wanna target for these long trades. So dollar yen still very bullish, looking for break and retest opportunities. Keep an eye on 156.800 and 152, but still looking very bullish going into next week. Okay, so now onto dollar CAD. So dollar CAD, I'm looking at downsides. I just went over the DXY. I do have a bearish bias for the DXY, so predominantly looking for opportunities that favor more weakness for the dollar. And dollar CAD, that would be looking for selling opportunities, of course. But we are trading still in this big level of support. We have bounced at this level a few times as resistance, as support as well, and we could still do. We kind of holding on to it. It's not really clear. But what I want to see with dollar CAD is these lower highs continuing and us breaking through this support level. If we can see a strong break to the downside, that will clear everything up to me. It will be the fact that this trend is still continuing, support is now failing to hold, and then in turn this will be strong resistance, and I'll be anticipating the next swing high there. So 1, 2, 3, potentially a fourth, and then looking for a lot more downside on that swing. So dollar CAD going forward, looking for shorting opportunities. I'm liking what I'm seeing in terms of the levels. A very strong level. The market has respected it well, but right now we're kind of bouncing back and forth. There could be some shorter term buys here. My only kind of worry with the buys is that if we do see a nice move up higher, I do think there's a good chance we'll form another lower high like we've been doing and come straight back down. So buys to me look a bit more of a short, medium term opportunity. Whereas if we do see a strong break and a retest, I feel like this trade has a lot more juice to it. Potentially these lows here. Again, I'm always looking at the bigger picture where price could go, and I would fancy a push to the lows here. Of course, I'm using a trailing stop loss, so it depends how far the market goes, but there is opportunity, there's potential for this to run, which makes sense as well. So dollar CAD, keeping a close eye on 1.361. Need to see the break first and then the pullback, so a lot needs to happen, but that is the opportunity I'm looking at next week for dollar CAD. Okay, so now onto euro pound. So euro pound price action has been difficult. It's been very, very choppy. Again, these are not the conditions which I like to trade in, but for people looking to trade euro pound, this is what I have to say. This is a big level in the market, which we haven't really shown much respect to as of late. We were holding as resistance really well over there and again over there, but since then the market has been breaking through. And it still is a key level resistance, and the way price is moving, I do think there is a good chance we'll probably test it on the next attempt, because we are forming these lower highs here, one over there, second over here, which for me are just fake outs of that same level. I would be looking at something like this, another push back into that level to get that third test there and that third lower high in the sequence, and potentially a big rollover to the downside, at least back to this key level of support at 0.85300. But essentially looking for a retest of that as resistance, because euro pound is consolidating. This is the range of the market over the past few days. This is the range I'm looking at, and I'm just looking at these as big fake outs. So if you do come back to the high of the range, essentially that level resistance, it does make sense for some shorts. Stop loss above the high, looking for a move back down to the low of the range, which is around that 0.853 mark. So that is what I'd be favoring for euro pound. Again, like I said, it's not my favorite conditions. I want to see trending, I want to see clear direction, whereas this is kind of back and forth, back and forth. So if this is optimal conditions for you, do what you need to do. But I do like to retest the high of the range for a move back down to the low. That to me makes sense given the market conditions. So that's the analysis going into next week for euro pound. Okay, so now onto Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar is looking bullish. I just missed out an opportunity to buy it right at the end of the week. I said I was looking for the retest of this high here. Should we get a break in retest? And if I just draw it to the wick properly, you can see we just about missed on the retest of this zone by literally, 2 pips or even less than that. So yeah, Aussie dollar just missed out on that level, but it hasn't broken through the high yet. So I'm still hoping, wishing, if you will, if we can come back down and retest that level of resistance and support, because essentially what I'm looking at for Aussie dollar is finally a breakout of this range. We've been trapped in this range for a while. I thought we had the breakout a while ago of this break here. Turned out to be a fake out. price came straight back in the range. Now again, we've had another breakout. Again, I'm anticipating this to be the breakout that, you know, we see a continuation of momentum and price doesn't come straight back down. So if this is the breakout, you would expect the retest to hold and the market to start trending now, and potentially next daily target back at that high at 0.68, 400, 500 we'll call it. So yeah, Aussie dollar, I'm liking the buying opportunities. If we don't see the retest of this low here, then I would be looking for price to go and break through this high, and then that will become the level of interest. Because if this is the breakout and we do start trending, then I'm expecting some really nice momentum, because price has been building up. Big fake out to the downside, grabbing liquidity. Now I do expect to see the follow through of that bullish momentum. So looking at opportunities on the retest of this low here at 0.66, 400, 400 we'll call it. And also a retest of this high, if we just have a strong break and we don't see the retest of that 0.664 level, this also becomes a nice place for a long. And longs, depending how far you want to take it, like I said, we do have a big daily level up there, so that's good in terms of risk to reward, but of course you could be able to trade a lot earlier than that. But yeah, this is the plan going to next week for Aussie dollar, looking for the break and retest of the high here at 0.67100, 67 or 0.66400 for next week. Okay, so over to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD, I really like this one. It has been a little bit but the price action has tidied out quite nicely, and I'm liking the momentum. Really strong move to the upside, This is again a trend which has characteristics or something I want to follow. So this has in turn left behind a really nice level of resistance, turn support. Basically, you know, the retest of this consolidation is what I'm looking at for a lot more upside for NZD CAD. And hopefully we can see a push back to the high. So looking for price to pull back nice and correctly, give us the next push, and then simply to that high. So wherever that high is forming, that's what I'm looking to take that trade into, because we have seen impressive momentum. And simply as a person who favors trends, I'm looking to follow momentum and looking to take trades in that direction. So now we have seen follow through, taking out some key highs here as well. I'm liking the retest of this level for some long opportunities. Again, waiting for confirmation, not jumping straight in, and then looking to take it back to the high, and potentially risk reward could be really, really favorable with this setup as well. So yeah, NZD CAD pretty straightforward to me. I'm liking the momentum, just now looking for a correction and a continuation back to that high. Okay, so over to pound NZD. So with this one, as I was mentioning during the week, we have lost a lot of bullish confluence. As we can see, we've broken through that trend line there on the daily chart, and also some nice daily support on the daily chart as well. So for me, I was looking for longs, or was expecting to see longs form at this area, but we never saw a strong rejection of that area. We kind of slowly broke through last week. Now we've had a retest and some continuation. So I'll be expecting more downside after this now for pound NZD. Dropping to the 4H, you can see price strong at the highs there. Now we've broken structure, and in turn we're also forming lower lows and lower highs as well. So I'm simply looking for this to continue. There's a nice level of support here. Price could come back and retest and potentially print in that next lower high in that sequence. So 1, 2, potentially a 3, and again another move lower. So for pound NZD, I'm expecting more downside next week. I'm liking the price action. It is a little bit corrective. It would be nice if we had a bit more momentum like we had over here, but essentially as long as we don't break through this high here at 2.089, as long as we don't break through that high, I'm expecting a lower high to form and some more downside. So that essentially becomes the plan. In terms of targets, you could be looking at the prior low here, could be looking at the low here, even this area here, brief consolidation, big push to the upside. This could be an area where price is drawn to. So there are numerous targets you could be looking at depending how aggressive you want to be, or the risk toward you're looking to capitalize on. You know, back to the low, this area here or this area here, they all make sense, but of course the further away you target, the less likely price is going to get there. So you have to take that into consideration as well. For me, I'm expecting a swing back to this low eventually, now that we've broken through the trend line and the support. So I do expect us to eventually come back to that low, but we shall see how things set up. But in terms of opportunity, keep an eye on a break and retest of 2.08200 for a move eventually back down to 2.04 for next week. Okay, so on to CAD Yen. So CAD Yen, again, another bullish pair. Jumping to the daily chart, weekly chart, we can still see confident momentum, still looking very, very bullish. Don't get me wrong, there are signs of the market slowing down with some heavy momentum there. But the key thing for me in terms of judging market trends and momentum is just to see what we're doing in the overall impulse phases. Is it still relatively big? Are we still, seeing impulsivity in those moves? And then second, which is the most important, are we breaking structure? If not breaking structure, then the trend for me is still at play until we do. And with CAD Yen and pretty much all the other yen pairs as well, we haven't taken out key structure. This was our key low, which gave us the high all the way up here. You can see we came down, respected that area, respected prior resistance, turned support. Let me just use the zone so we don't have to put up with my squiggly drawings. So as you can see, we came back, respected some key areas, didn't break structure, and we're still pushing up. So therefore, I'm still very bullish on CAD Yen. So similar analysis to dollar yen, which we had a look at earlier on. Looking for the retest of this low, because again, it's a great place to buy. Respected that resistance very well, respected that support very well. So this is still a very attractive place for me to buy. And again, it's right at the low as well. So risk to reward looks very promising should the trend continue from this area. And also likewise the high up here. If you do see a nice break of that high, see some strong momentum above it, I will be interested in some pullbacks, a higher low, and a continuation to the upside. We've got the wick high there to potentially target. We've also got the body there as well. So again, different targets, different risk appetites. I'll be looking at trading a stop loss, so I won't really have a target set. I'll just see what I can do, especially with these conditions. There is a world where CAD Yen really starts to rip to the upside, and we do take out the highs again as well. So hopefully I can take advantage of that. But yeah, with CAD Yen, looking for buying opportunities, looking at the retest of the high there or the retest of this low, and then expecting more upside next week. Okay, so pound USD. So pound USD is not one of my favorite dollar pairs, I must say, because we're trading in a large range overall. It looks like price is just giving us a big fake out to the upside and to the downside. So that there is our bullish fake out to the upside, and this here being our bearish fake out to the downside. The market's now comfortably within the range. I would be expecting price just to make it back to the high of the range, because if we do fake out one way, we tend to go the other. So as we can see, faked out up to come down. Now we're faked down, I'm expecting price to come up back to the high of the range there. So there's two opportunities I'm looking at for for pound USD. It's either the retest of the low of the range, which would be this support level here around 1.253, or the retest of this high. Let me just move this out of the way. We know it's a fake out, or the retest of this high here. Either which way, I'm looking for price to make its way back to the high of the range. Again, that's kind of why it's not one of my favorite dollar pairs, because it is being quite corrective, quite choppy, and I want to be seeing trending conditions in other dollar pairs which are in slightly better conditions. So that's where I'll be looking to focus my attention on. But of course, the dollar pairs are all kind of correlated. So if one makes the move, normally the others will follow suit. Dollar's the big dictator in this situation, so keeping close eye on the DXY. But yeah, for pound USD, it has left behind a really nice level of resistance. Looking for the retest of that around 1.262, and we do have the low of the range down there at 1.253, which also looks pretty good for a long. But in terms of targets, looking for the high of the range of around 1.28, and yeah, expecting a lot more upside next week for pound USD. Okay, so for pound CAD, I saw the bullish move I was after, breaking through highs. Now I'm looking for a correction and a continuation of that move. We saw a big breakout to the upside in that break of that neckline, or of the inverse head and shoulder pattern. So left shoulder there, head over there, right shoulder. And of course, this being our neckline, the price is just broken through that. Again, in the high time frames, we do have somewhat of an uptrend here. So I'm looking at pound CAD going right back to the high around 1.73300, we'll call it, and potentially even higher as well. So now we have broken through that resistance. It has left behind some nice support, which in turn I'll be looking for a retest of it. for then the buying opportunities back to the high. So very, very straightforward. We have multiple time frames pointing up. We've just seen a nice bullish pattern here as well, a nice healthy breakout. So yeah, let's hopefully get the pullback to retest it, because of course price can just rally. So hopefully we get the pullback to retest that area, and then we can look for entries at that same level around 1.72300, 1.72230 actually, misread that. So that's why I'll be looking for opportunities and targets back at the high on the daily chart as well. Risk to reward looking pretty good too. So liking the structure, seeing a nice momentum, hopefully get a pullback, retest the zone, and then looking for a push back to the daily swing highs. And that is the plan next week for pound CAD. Okay, so on to pound yen. So another yen pair still looking very bullish. This one's showing some nice signs of momentum. We have broken through that high I've been looking at on the previous two yen pairs, but I do want to see a bit more upside, a bit more momentum before I do start to look for some pullbacks, some retests, and some longs. But it is looking promising, which is what I want to see. Again, on the higher time frames, we're still seeing a strong bullish trend. The market's still respecting all these higher lows, and still seeing strength in the bullish moves here. So I'm only looking to follow that. I do like the support level here, similar to CAD yen and dollar yen, but again, we're very, very far away. So unless we have a big collapse next week, the chances are we probably won't be trading at these prices next week. But of course, anything can happen, but likelihood is that we're probably not. So I'll be more focused on this level here for CAD yen, not CAD yen, sorry, for pound yen. We've got the wick high there, potentially could get to, already got to the body. So next target will be the wick high there at 200.5. Again, if we do see that higher time frame just continue the trend, there's a very high chance that we just see more upside and some new highs past that point there too. So in summary, looking for a little bit more momentum before I do look for my pullbacks, because I want to see a big breakouts are the breakouts I want to follow. And yeah, if we can get a nice solid retest of the level, we'll look for entries at that area around 1,197,050. Stop loss below the level and targeting that wick high there, but I will be trading my stop loss. So that remains the plan there for pound yen going into next week. Okay, so over to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin looking very, very bullish. We're seeing consecutive higher highs and higher lows. So for me, price action is very, very straightforward. I said I was looking for the retest of this low this week, of this high. It did happen, but just outside of my trading hours, so no entry for me, unfortunately. But it did hold very well, and the market is continuing and looking very bullish. But I still expect high prices for gold. I do think we can take up the highs there at 24.31 and probably go a lot further as well. 2,500 is the big next psychological level. So that could be where gold is working its way towards. In that case, we're just looking for pullbacks to take this higher. So this area is something I'm interested in. If you can get a pullback and a retest of that high there, that looks good. Lower time frames, I would keep an eye on this area here too, but I'll probably be looking at lower time frames to enter that trade, because if I do look for entries on the time frames I normally enter, the risk reward will not be that promising. So on the lower time frames, I would still keep an eye on 23.96, but this level looks really good here on the 4H, 23.78, and again targets back at that high, and can even look to target the wick high there at 24.30, because there's a good chance we do go and take the liquidity just above that high there. But gold, exceptionally bullish market, high time frames bullish, low time frames bullish as well. So for me, it's a no-brainer, just looking for pullbacks and looking for my more buying opportunities, as long as we maintain this bullish structure and we don't go and break through. So yeah, wanting to see a pullback. Let's see if we can get a retest of 23.78 and expecting some new highs next week. Okay, so over to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's looking interesting. We're seeing some momentum to the upside, but we haven't taken out any structure yet. And I'm looking at this high as a significant point, because this high gave us this low. So a break of that high would be of a lot of significance, and maybe we're going to see the next bullish phase for Bitcoin, but we are looking relatively bullish. Again, you can see that better on the daily chart, but speaking from a purely technical standpoint, again, I'm still looking at this as a bigger impulse. This is a big correction and another impulse for Bitcoin. So that's my longer term vision for Bitcoin. I do think there's a good chance we get back to the high and of course see higher highs as well. So if that's the case, let's break structure. Let's see a confident candle closure above that. A nice daily candle would be nice. And then we can be looking at some pullbacks in the low time frames to then trade that momentum, either a retest of the high here or a retest of that high there. But essentially we're looking at a lot more upside. There's still some nice areas to buy further down, like 52k, 48k should gold get there. But at the moment in time, it does look like we are seeing some strength in this momentum. So if it does do some damage, break through some highs, things look a lot better, a lot more attractive for Bitcoin. And I would be looking at pullbacks and continuations back to that high. And we can probably see some higher prices there as well. But 74k has a pretty good chance of being tested. So that's my take on Bitcoin, looking at upside there. Keep an eye on 52k. It's very, very far away from current price, so I'm not really thinking too much about that. But should we sell off, that could be a nice area to buy. But in more recent terms, these levels here look good. So keep an eye on 67k and 65,500 for some longs for Bitcoin. If, only if, we do go and break that structure, then I'll look for pullbacks. But that is analysis next week for Bitcoin. Okay, so now last but not least, we've got a bonus pair, which for this week is Euro NZD, and I believe this was the bonus pair a couple of weeks ago. We've now seen the break of support, which is kind of what I was looking for this to be a setup, because I was speaking about the consolidation here. I said it does look like price is forming another lower high on the daily chart. We had one high over there, second high over there. I'm looking at this as the third high in that bearish sequence, and if that is the third high, there's a very good chance we do get back down to this support level here. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing for Euro NZD. Really sharp breakout of this range. You know, a lot of bearish momentum spewing to the downside. So simply, it's my job just to look for those corrections and look into short when I do see my setup form. And right now, my main focus is the retest of this support level. This is a brief range that we had, brief consolidation before the breakout. Now let's see if we can come back and retest that, look for the next lower high, and then yeah, be on our way, on our bike. If we do come back inside the range and start messing around in there, then I'm not really interested. Like I said, I'm only looking to sell. I'm looking for that lower high in the daily chart. And now that we have broken through the range, it has left behind a nice level of resistance to short from. So let's stay below that resistance level. Let's not break above. If it does, that's when I'll start to take a step back. But if we can have some nice rejection there, I'll be 100% happy to take some trades. And overall, looking to take that back down to the lows at 1.745 with a trading stop loss. So we'll see how much juice I can squeeze out of that. But that is the plan for Euro NZD. I'm really liking the opportunity, and definitely will make the watch list for next week. But guys, that does bring us to the end of the analysis. If you have enjoyed it, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and make sure you do hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Drop a comment down below, any pairs you're looking at trading next week, let me know. But besides from that, guys, have a fantastic day, a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you all next week.